Welcome everyone to Prospero Financial Reporting and Budgeting. My name is Noah Mosley. I've got a few slides to go with you before we actually jump into Prospero with you today. I want to start off with a little bit about our company, just so you'll be aware of where we come from as far as our history, how we got started. We are the MSX Group. Our product is Prospero, but the company is MSX Group. We started this back in 2009. All of us, before we started the company, were with Microsoft, our Great Plains software, our FRX software, handling the Microsoft legacy products for financial reporting and budgeting, namely Management Reporter, Forecaster, and FRX. We still handle those products, but we have been rolling out Prospero. I guess we started over probably 7 years ago now. So it's been a while, and maybe longer than that. Plenty of years of experience with all of us working in this community for financial reporting and budgeting. And we rolled out Prospero as a replacement for the Microsoft solutions. We still work with the Microsoft solutions and ERP systems, as well as other ERP and GL systems out there. And Prospero is our all-in-one software solution for financial reporting and budgeting. I'm going to start off with reporting when I get into Prospero with you today, but just so you'll have a big picture idea about what the reporting piece of Prospero is for us. This handles all of your financial statements. This handles your income statements, balance sheet statements, cash flow statements, trial balance statements, and any other kind of supporting schedule you want to pull together from your geo data or statistical data or other data we import into Prospero. With all these reports in Prospero, we have drill down to the account and transaction level details. You can see exactly what account numbers everything is posted to, and all the transactions that make up those account balances as well. You don't have to go back into the GL to find that data. It's all right inside Prospero. And any reports that you build inside Prospero, they're available for viewing in the numeric report format, as well as in our built-in dynamic charts and graphs. We say dynamic charts and graphs because it's not just a static representation of those numbers. You actually have a drill down in those charts and graphs to drill down to the details that make up those charts and graphs. So reporting is a huge part of Prospero, and a lot of our clients may just have reporting. That may be the only thing they need Prospero for. But we do have the option where they can add budgeting to Prospero as well. And we're going to look at budgeting after reporting in Prospero for this session. But the big picture for budgeting in Prospero is that we built this with a really user-friendly interface for your budget managers, spreadsheet-style user input screens, rows and columns. Although I do want to point out this is not Excel-based budgeting. This is all built inside Prospero, which people will access either through the Prospero application itself or through a web browser. Same thing for the reporting. Everything's accessed through the Prospero application or through the web browser. But for the budgeting piece, we've got input screens, rows and columns. We also have built-in templates to handle budgeting for human resources and capital. HR will let us budget for all the employees at the company, any new hires coming up, all their wages, taxes and benefits. And for capital, that lets us budget for any new assets that we would like to purchase for next year, booking the cost to the cost account, and projecting depreciation expense for those assets as well. For data input for budgeting process, we can our budget managers can add line item details, an easy way for them to add extra rows to account level input screens, breaking down the balances. They don't have to ask anybody to add rows for them. Doesn't cause any problems when they click save. They just add line item details to break down those balances. They can add notes to any of their input screens for easy reference. And a huge part about budgeting inside Prospero, as soon as they click save, it's saved in Prospero SQL database along with any other data set, budget, forecast data, actuals. It's consolidated immediately and available for reporting right away. So huge improvements there if you've been using Forecast in the past for budgeting, or budgeting in Excel spreadsheets, and you've just outgrown that process. So instant consolidation, you don't have to worry about putting everything into one file, importing that budget back into your GL for reporting. It's all ready as soon as your budget managers click the Save button on Input. All right, I am going to jump over to Prospero with you. Again, I'll take any questions. Just type those into that GoToWebinar control panel on the right. If you want to come into the conversation, I can unmute you as well. All right, let me jump over to Prospero with you. All right, I am looking at our quick launch window in Prospero, and I'm accessing this through the web browser, which really is identical to the Prospero application itself. But more and more of our clients are just going through the web browser here for accessing their reporting and accessing their budget input screens and charts and graphs. So we're going to start off with a little bit about the navigation here. Quick Launch is an easy way for individual users to have their most commonly used reports and input screens and report collections right here on one screen for them. Every tile in the middle is a different report or group of reports or chart or graph or an input screen for the budget. So one click will get those started for us. We do have the main navigation on the left-hand side. We've got buttons for everything inside Prospero. If you click once on the button for our reports, they're all displayed at the top left of this left-hand panel, all the report definitions. Same thing for any security settings, published reports. We'll look at those during the reporting piece here. All of your segments, report collections, and different areas inside Prospero here. So main navigation, I'm actually going to hide this left-hand panel and use the quick launch window for demoing the reports and the budget input screens for us. Just hide that panel. And we'll start off with reporting. So on the left-hand side, I've got a tile for monthly income statement, actual to budget variances. I'll click that once. That brings up a prompt window for me before it actually starts running this report. A few things I check before I click OK to actually run the report. I check what company I want to run this report for. I'm running it for our U.S. company, Company 1. All departments, and I'm running it for location, a summary of locations by region. A quick little reference there about our summaries inside Prospero. Any of your companies or any of your dimensions or segments, you can summarize and use those summaries on any reports as prompts. You can reference those summaries for accounts or locations, departments, companies on any row of the reports, any columns, and on your budget input screens as well. And just to show you how this location summary tree looks, I'll click the lookup button here, open this up. I've got several trees organizing locations. I've got one that just says all locations. It's just a long list of all my location codes. I've got one total company by division. I've got one I'm using for this report, which is total company by region. And if I open this one, I can see that that's my East, South, West, and Midwest regions, and then everything that rolls up into those different regions. I'll just pick total company by region here, click OK to select it. I'll check the date for the year and the period I want to run this report for. And my output option and workspace will run this report to the screen on a new tab for us. I could, though, send this report directly to the printer, directly to Excel, PDF, or published reports. Published reports is our way of archiving these reports, making a static copy of this set of numbers so that I know that on this specific date and time, these are the numbers that were generated. So that's our way of archiving reports and all the details that go into that report as a published version. All right, let me click OK here to actually start processing this report. It goes out to Prospero's database, pulls all the balances together, runs all the calculations, and shows me the resulting report right here on the screen. This income statement, I've got descriptions on the left-hand side. I've got column for actuals, column for budget, dollar variances, percent variances, and all the totals that make up this report for us. Now, as an administrator or report builder, and when you build these reports, you control the report headers, the column headers, what every row represents, all the calculations, the fonts, the background shading, everything you set up when you define the template for this report. Really flexible there about what you want to include in any report you build inside Prospero. Now for this report, we do have drill down, so it's not just one page. You can double click on a row and drill down to the account and transaction level details. So if I double click on sales, this drills down, shows me all the account numbers that make up the sales total. And you can also drill down further to transaction level details. If I double click on this account, see my beginning balances, and it would show me in any other transactions if I had those for that particular account. So account level drill down is great for us, and transaction level details as well. Every time I double clicked on a row to get the extra level of detail, that new window opened in a new tab. So these are still open at the top. Easy to jump back and forth. This is the account level detail page. This is the transaction level detail page, and this is the first report page we started with. All right, let me close it up a couple tabs here. And we looked at drill down on individual rows, but let me also mention our full account detail option. So sometimes instead of double clicking on individual rows, you might want to have all the accounts display on one page and all have them expanded to show you all the accounts that make up those totals. So we have an option for a full account detail. Click that once. This goes out, opens up a new tab for us, and expands every row to show us all the account level details that make up the totals for all these rows. Auditors love this, accountants love this. Easy way to get everything on one page, and then just as easily send this out to Excel. Now we looked at drill down to account transaction level details. You can also summarize the drill down by any of your companies or other segments or dimensions as well. So I can go to the top and select change drill down order, and account level details at the top of that window, but let's say I want to have my drill down show all the data summarized by location. So I'll take location, click and drag to the top of this list. And now if I double click on, say, salaries, instead of account level detail, I can see that the South region has about $30,000 in salary expense, about $49,000 for the West region, about $63,000 for the Midwest region. So easy to summarize the drill down, not just by to the account level detail, but by any of your company summaries or your other segments or dimension summaries. All right, let me go back, change that back to the drill down with a count at the top here. Also, easy navigation. If you have very lengthy reports here, you've got the scroll bar on the right hand side of the screen. Easy to go top to bottom of that scroll bar. On the ribbon up top, we also have options to click go to. One click there will show us a list of all the header rows and subtotal rows, so I can jump to any of those right away. Or you've got arrows to jump all the way to the bottom or all the way back to the top. So easy navigation if you've got a very lengthy report here. All right, I want to look at charts and graphs inside Prospero with you for our reporting. Any report you build inside Prospero, actual data, budget data, forecast balances, statistics, you can look at that in this numeric report format, and you can also look at that data in charts and graphs. So if I want to see this in a chart view, I'll go to the top and click Display as Chart. I've already got this one set up to show me two pie charts, actual versus budget for my net revenue and my total expenses. And I've got it, I think it's going to be pretty cluttered because I have all my accounts set up on the next page here, but that's okay. I can clean it up after I get to the next page. So I'll click Display as Chart. Opens up a new tab for us. Let me go back, sorry. I'll just rerun this, so I'll start from scratch. All right, now I'll go to Display as Chart. And I've got actuals on the left, budget on the right. If I hover over pieces of the pie here, pops up, shows me the blue is net revenue, about $1.4 million, about 77% of the total pie here. The red piece will be total expenses, about $420,000 in actuals, about 22% of the total pie here. And I do have drill down, so if I double click on total expenses, this is where I'll have the cluttered window with all the accounts listed individually. That's okay. It's very cluttered here. I can summarize this data and clean it up a little bit. I can go to the top under chart and options. There's a checkbox that says group small slices. And I'll check that box, and anything less than 5% of the total pie here will go into one section by itself. And that way I can see that the higher dollar amounts are coming from overtime pay, about $78,000, supplies, about $26,000. So you can see right away with the chart view here, summarize that data, drill down and see where the high dollar amounts are coming from. And if you want to go from this chart view back to the numeric report view, I can go to the top and select switch to report view. Takes that data right back out to the numeric format for us for expenses. So great way to analyze the data inside Prospero in the numeric views with drill down and the charts and graphs with drill down. Before I ran this report, I mentioned output options. Even after you run the report and you're looking over the numbers, if you decide at this point you want to send this report out to Excel, PDF, the printer, you get those options at the top of the window here on the ribbon. Send it to Excel, PDF to the printer, and we have our publish option as well. So the publish option, great way here for us to archive these numbers. That way, even if you go back in the GL and accidentally post something in the past that would change these numbers, if you rerun this report, you would still have your published version of these numbers that you know that on this specific date and time, these are the numbers that I handed out to everybody at the office. So if I go to publish report, and this is for 2023 data, this was published successfully. This is now our published version. Looks the same. I still have drill down to account transaction level detail. I can still send out to Excel, PDF for the printer. I can still look at this in chart views as well. It also has an option to add notes to this published version. This is an option you didn't have with the unpublished version. So if I click once on bonus, and let's say you have to go through a process of detailing any high dollar variances between actual and budget, I can go to Annotations, click the Add button, add my note in here. Click OK to save it to this published version of this report. Add the little blue square on that row on the left-hand side. If I put my cursor over that blue square, it pops up, shows me the last text that was added. If I go back to the annotation panel on the right, I can see this was a note added by the admin user on the date and time it was added and the text that was added. And then anybody else with access to this report can see my notes, and they can add their notes as well. So you don't have to email 5 different people. Those people just log in, pull up this published version of this report, then they can see your notes and add theirs too. So a great way for collaboration right inside Prospero for any of your published reports. Now, over time, you could build a lot of reports inside Prospero. An easy way to go and see all that the report definitions you've set up will be under the Home option and then Catalog View. Every row on this window that pops up is a different report definition. What line set it uses, what column set it uses, when it was created, who created it, who last modified it, and when it was last used and published. Great way to summarize all that data right here on one window for any reports you've got set up inside Prospero. And that was under Home and Catalog View up top. All right, I am going to jump over and look at budgeting next. Let me see if I have any questions that have popped up about reporting. I don't see anything in the go-to webinar control panel, but hey, if something comes to mind, I can always come back here. And these are just some of the bells and whistles for reporting. I mean, there are a ton of others that it's hard to put everything into one demo hour for reporting and budgeting. So if you need additional information, email me. I'd be glad to go back, answer any additional questions via email or a phone call, even using your data. If you're a current user of Prospero at your company and you want some training, we can talk about that as well. All right, let me go back to quick launch at the top left here. We looked at reporting just now. Let's look at budgeting next. I've got our input template for our 2025 budget started. I'll click this once. This brings up a prompt window, kind of like the prompt window when you run a report. What company do I want to budget for? What location do I want to budget for? And what department do I want to budget for? Now for input, this one is set up for 3 different input tabs. I've got the main tab that displays first, which may be the only tab you need for budget input. We also have the tab for human resources and the tab for capital. And we'll talk about those two next, but I'll start off with the main tab. For the main input tab, we've got rows and columns. This one is set up for January through December, year to date, with prior year actuals and some variance columns for dollar amounts and percent amounts. The long list of account numbers for expenses. We've got a section for the salary accounts, benefit and tax accounts, supplies and services. We've got little blue header rows for each of those different sections. All the account numbers would tie back to your main account from your GL. As a budget administrator, you would decide what account numbers should be listed here. You would decide the shading, the background colors, the font sizes, all those details for how it looks, any calculations, any rows that are locked from input. For this page, we have gray rows that are locked from input because these are coming from the other tabs like human resources or capital. We do have rows in white that are available for input. Your budget managers can come in here, type in balances, that updates any of the rows that are related to that entry. They can copy those balances across to other columns, copy and paste balances, easy data input, just typing stuff in here, or copy and pasting from Excel spreadsheets to here. They also have options to add notes to any of these input rows. So I can see that production supplies has got a blue square next to that row. If I put my cursor over that blue square, it pops up, shows me the last text that was added. If I go to the right, and this opens up and shows me annotations, I can see that 2 notes were added. They were both added by the admin user, the date and times they were added, and the text that was added. So easy for anybody with access to this input screen to add their notes and see my notes as well. The same kind of idea that we saw for annotations and notes for our published reports. Another great feature for our input screen for the main tab here would be line item details. So your budget managers can come in here, they can just type in balances to a row, but they can also add additional rows of detail. We call those line items. Advertising has line items that add up to the total for these balances. I know that because there's a plus icon on the left-hand margin of that advertising row. If I click the plus, that opens up, shows me in green all the line item detail rows that someone has added to this budget. Dollar amounts for online ads, dollar amounts for television, magazine, local newspapers, all those to add up to the total for that account right above that section. And your budget managers, they can add as many rows of line item details to an account as they want to. They can do it themselves. They don't have to ask anybody to add it for them, and it does not cause any problems with consolidations when they click the Save button, because at the end, everything's going to be saved to the account number right above it, advertising account 7350. So a great option there for your budget managers to add details, break down those totals so that they can remember where all those dollars are going to. So great features there for the main input tab for us, which again may be the only tab a lot of your budget managers need. They may not need the tab for human resources or for capital. And if they just have the main tab, they make their changes. When they're finished with those changes, they go to the top and click the Save button to save those changes. Everything is stored in Prospero SQL database, the same database that everybody at your company would share. And all those balances here are consolidated as soon as they click Save, and they're available for reporting right away as well, and for comparison to any other data set you've got inside Prospero. Prior budgets, prior forecast, actuals, anything else you've got saved in Prospero, they can look at that as a comparison in reports here. And all this budget data, when you use that data in reports, you can look at it in numeric report format or in charts and graphs as well. All right, let's talk about human resources. The tab for human resources would let us budget for any existing employees and new hires for next year as well. Every row here is an individual employee or a new hire. Existing employees would be imported from your payroll system into Prospero. All this data here is used to track hire dates, headcount for all these employees. I've got January through December. I'm tracking their FTEs for the salaried employees. I'm tracking hours per month for the hourly employees. We could always switch this up. There's an option up top to show every person, even the hourly people, as FTEs. I can show everything, even the salary employees, as hours per month, or go back to mixed. To the right, we track their pay rates, any pay change amounts for next year. We've got increase 1 and increase 2. You can have more if you need to handle that for pay changes for next year for all of these employees. Scroll to the right. We can also handle calculations for bonuses as a percentage of their earnings or as a fixed dollar amount, and what period those bonuses are paid out. We track overtime for each employee here as well, profit sharing, commission related calculations. And we've got several benefit columns. Benefit columns are really used to help us sort out which rates should apply to each employee for taxes and benefits, because if they're in different states for those would have different tax rates. You'd have different medical insurance rates for employees. We've got options for workers' comp as a code here. We've got 3 columns for benefits showing up. You can have up to 10 options to filter out those different rates and amounts for all your benefits and taxes. Now, the Human Resource tab is an optional tab. It comes with every version of Prospero for budgeting. They don't have to set it up, but it is an easy setup page for Prospero. Easy to import your existing employees, and an easy page here for your budget managers to make any changes to these employees. Now, if you have HR set up, but you have some employees that should not have access to HR, that's okay. And security will handle that, and they will not even see the tab here at the top for human resources. So if they should not have access to HR details, they will not even have be able to see the tab that says human resources. The tab for capital. Oh, well, let me also mention human resources. After it calculates all the wages, taxes, and benefits for us, we do have those amounts set up to show on the main tab. So that's what populates these accounts for salaries, bonus amounts, overtime amounts, and the taxes and benefit amounts. Okay. And those here on this main tab are in gray. You can't change them directly on this page. You have to go back and change the details on the HR tab. The capital tab. This is for budgeting for new assets for us. Every row here is a different individual asset or group of assets. Your budget managers will add as many to this list as they need to. When do they plan to purchase these assets? When to start depreciation expense? How many they plan to purchase? How much they cost individually? And Prospero uses this information here to book the cost to the cost account and project depreciation expense for these assets as well. Just like HR, capital is an optional tab. Not everybody sets it up, but it is an easy setup tab and easy for your budget managers to use. And if you do set up capital, but you have some budget managers that you do not want to give them access, they will not even see the tab for capital. So all that is handled in security as well. And security inside Prospero, it's all consolidated into one location, centralized for your list of users, what reports they have access to, what budgets they have access to, all the areas that they can get to inside Prospero. So you don't have to set up security in one application for reporting and then go to another application for budgeting and set up security all over again. It's all in one application, Prospero, that handles both of those operations. All right, we looked at the main tab, HR tab, and the capital tab for input for your budget managers. Easy input for your budget managers in this process here. Rows and columns, easy transition from Forecaster or from Excel spreadsheets over to Prospero, easy access here. The main tab here, we looked at how this was built, January through December, a list of account numbers. If you can set up one template, one list of accounts that everybody shares at your company, all the better. But if you do need different input screens for different people, that's fine as well. So if I go to top for reopen input, and I'll switch from administration to sales, this will be a completely different set of account numbers with a completely different set of calculations. For this sales input budget, we are tracking units per month. And then for each of these, we've got a price per unit per month. And these two amounts are used to calculate the dollars in revenue for those products, as well as cost of goods sold and any other related accounts as well. So completely different set of accounts listed on this tab, different template, different calculations for a completely different purpose. So you're not stuck with one input template. Have as many as you need to for your organization. And also I want to point out that for these first two rows, units and price per unit, we have two accounts that we set up just inside Prospero, Z101, Z102. You can call those accounts anything you want to call them. We usually start ours with a letter code just so that we know that these are not accounts that really exist in our chart of accounts, back in our GL. They only exist in Prospero, and we're just using those for budgeting purposes. So you can set up as many different accounts inside Prospero as you need to for budgeting purposes that do not have to be set up inside your GL to get them in here. All right, you can do also as many different versions of the budget in Prospero as you need to. You can do your original budget and then set up as many forecast revisions to that budget as you need to. Just want to point out there's a wizard inside Prospero. I go to Tools, the top left, Copy Plan, and on the left-hand side, where do I want to copy from? I'll just say I'm copying from our 25 budget. When that's finished, on the right-hand side, where am I copying to? Let's just say I'm copying to our forecast. Easy copy from, copy to option here. One window here does all that for us. You can copy all of your account balances. You can copy your line item details. You can copy your HR details and the capital details as well. It's easy to copy all of that with one window with this copy plan wizard in Prospero up top to get you started for the new forecast for the year. And some people do the original budget for the year, and then you may have a new forecast for all the different quarters. But you can have even more than that if you needed to. All right, let me close that window for us. And I close out of our budget input screens here for us. Let me also mention history up top. We do track any changes to any dollar amounts here. Prospero will track what user makes those changes, the date and time those amounts were changed, and the dollar changes as well. So you can always look at history and see who changed what when. And so if they ever question you, you can say, well, this was done by you on this specific date and time. All right, let's close out a couple tabs there and back to our quick launch window for us. We looked at that monthly income statement for reporting, including the numeric layout, the drill down options, the charts and graphs. We looked at the budget input template there, talked about having forecast versions of that as well. Our templates for the main input, our templates for HR budgeting and for capital budgeting. A lot of flexibility when you're setting up the budget inside Prospero. Great features, and as soon as they click save, it's all inside Prospero. It's all consolidated. It's all ready for reporting right away. I do want to mention report collections for you before I start wrapping up for this session with you. You can put as many different reports or as many different charts and graphs into a collection as you need to, and have them all run at one time. So this one, I've got one that says daily dashboard. It's got 3 different charts and I believe it's an income statement as the 4th item there. So if I click this once, this will start processing all those 4 different charts and graphs in the report. This is our revenue trend report, revenue versus expenses, month, quarterly, and year to date. Income statement side by side, and then the numeric income statement for us as well. All those back on 4 different tabs for us. So easy to see that data, put them all into a collection, have them all run at one time, and that way I do not have to go and find all 4 of those individually and run them individually. Just go to that one report collection, run them all at one time. And I use Quick Launch for most of the navigation to run reports, the report collection, the input screen as well. The Quick Launch window is tailored for each individual user. So every user you have that opens up Prospero, they can decide what reports they want to show in their Quick Launch window, what report collections they want to show, and what budget input screens they want to show. So they can set that up themselves. So that is their most commonly used reports, charts and graphs, collections, and budget inputs. All right, starting to wrap up the day with you today. Appreciate everybody joining me. We've covered a lot of different topics for reporting and budgeting inside Prospero. There's a lot of other features. I'll be glad to discuss those on a future call or future demos with you. Just let me know. Email is best. I've got one slide I'll jump to before we round out this session. So what's next for everybody? If you have questions about Prospero, email us at info@msxgroup.com. We'd be glad to help you with training, building reports, building or setting up your budget input screens. If you are looking at purchasing Prospero, we can set you up with a free 30-day trial site, no obligation quotes. And we've got everything on our website as well at msxgroup.com. Again, the company name is MSX Group. The product is Prospero. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to speak with you all again very soon.